Hello everyone, and I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing latest everything Telltale games, Transformers, and more. Welcome back to another Earthspark review, where for today's review, we're going to be looking at Season 1, Episode 14, Security Protocols. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this or try to excuse myself in any way. This episode is without a doubt, out of the 18 episodes currently released of Earthspark, my favorite episode of it. There's absolutely so little wrong with this one. I just love it so much, and that's just because the main plot is absolutely incredible, and I love it to pieces. Instantly introduces easily one of my favorite characters in all of Earthspark, just by this one episode alone, and it's just so good. I'm so excited to talk about it with you all and tell you all why it was so good to me. And honestly, this is great too, because literally this will be going up on tomorrow, Friday, March 24th. So I'm rushing to get this done the day before, because I've got a lot of stuff to do. Not only do I want to make sure this is ready for tomorrow, but also come in about 6 hours when it comes midnight, the Resident Evil 4 remake is going to come out, so I want to spend all night playing that, and I'm just going to have such a fun time playing that. So I want to get this done as quickly as possible. And also I had a really busy weekend since last Friday was my birthday, and I just had a lot of good stuff. So I'm super excited to talk about this episode. If you're excited as I am to listen to me talk about it, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe. Let's go ahead and jump right into why this is my currently favorite episode of Transformers Earthspark. Episode 14 starts off with a cold open, and I mean a very brief cold open. It's literally, we see the three ghost cadets we were following back in episode 11, #oops, of them scanning several race car tracks left behind by Bumblebee in his alt mode, and after scanning and realizing that there's some energon residue on it, one of them, I believe her name was Agent Quan, she ends up contacting Agent Schloeder, informing him that they finally discovered Bumblebee. Because if you don't remember from the first batch of episodes, the whole thing is that Optimus apparently wants Bee in hiding because Ghost believes he's dead. Which, I don't understand why Optimus was hiding Bee in the first place, unless for some reason maybe he doesn't trust Ghost. Because as we saw back in episode 5, Classified, we do see that Optimus is starting to have some doubts in Ghost, and even that was expanded a bit more in episode 10, Age of Evolution Part 2. So I think that's an interesting thing as to how maybe hopefully, I think it'd be really cool if maybe we saw the moment where Ghost believed Bumblebee to have died, because unfortunately we don't see that in this batch of episodes. So maybe either that'll be revealed in the last batch or not at all, but I'm gonna lean more towards not at all, but we'll have to wait and see. That leads us to the main plot of this episode, which starts off with Thrash, #Nightshade, Jawbreaker, Robbie, and Mo all helping Bee try to beat this best time in a little pre-made racetrack that they all put together on the Malto homestead and the farm. You see they even got fluffy ears holding a checkered flag and all that. It's really cute, and despite that, Bee keeps getting frustrated that he can't seem to beat, I believe it's 3 minutes and 33 seconds, 3 minutes and 36 seconds, or 3.36 seconds, one of the two, I don't remember exactly, but you can clearly see while everyone else seems to be happy with helping out Bee, we even get to see all the other Terrans minus Twitch help riding along with him. We see Thrash in his motorcycle mode, #driving in her mode. We even get to see Nightshade flying by them all in their owl mode, which is great to see more of Nightshade in their alt mode after they got it in the last episode. But the interesting thing here is Twitch, who just seems to be totally annoyed by this at all, and is really frustrated that they're helping Bee improve on his racing skills instead of just actually training them. And so while Thrash tells Twitch not to worry that because they're ready for anything, Twitch suddenly decides to go out of nowhere and starts trying to attack Thrash, and I mean seriously trying to attack him and injure him, which Thrash is totally confused by. So just when they're about to start fighting properly, Nightshade and #, managed to restrain them, where Twitch explains that she was just trying to train Thrash to be prepared for any sort of situation. And after clearly Thrash is irritated by this, he orders the two of them to go cool off in the dugout until they can talk other distances. Basically literally just puts them in a timeout, for a lack of better terms. So the two of them go back into the dugout alongside Robbie, Mo, and the rest of the Terrans, where they all question Twitch as to why she just suddenly started attacking Thrash, and that leads into Twitch's character arc for this. This is the second big moment of her becoming the leader of the Maltobots this batch of episodes, which we saw first off back in episode 11, #oops, where she believed she was responsible for # as her older sister to try and help her find her alt mode while also keeping her safe. And we sort of see that big sister complex return here in this episode, but on a much grander scale. Now only continue to develop, especially in the last 2 episodes with Home Parts 1 and 2 later on. But we'll stick to this episode for now. And it's really cool to see that when Thrash questions Twitch on why she basically explains that she doesn't believe that Thrash is ready for anything, and that she needs to make sure everyone's prepared to fight someone that wouldn't be like as forgiving as hers. That's why she just went all out on him, despite being just a simple training drill, which clearly angers Thrash just as much as Twitch is angered. So at that point, though, as they're about to leave, the dugout security systems go on, hence the name of this episode, Security Protocols, and that is because Agent Schloeder decides to come to the Malta homestead when he recognizes that the car that the cadets scanned back in the beginning of this episode was none other than Alex's car, which you remember back in, I believe, episode 5 Classified, when Agent Schloeder was riding alongside Alex in Bumblebee, not realizing it was B. Alex just passed it off as like some big muscle car that he had bought during his midlife crisis, which I thought was hilarious. And it's cool to see that they're bringing that back, like calling back to that episode, which I think is really, really cool. At this point, Agent Schloeder is totally convinced that Alex's car is Bumblebee, so he goes storming right to the barn, prepared to bust Bumblebee, but luckily though, Dot manages to get there before him and warn B that Agent Schloeder's coming. So we get this moment where Dot is alone in the barn while B is just holding himself up on the ceiling of the barn when Agent Schloeder comes in, so he doesn't see B, and Dot is trying to sway Agent Schloeder to go away by telling him that Alex's car, which she's playing dumb, saying that's not Bumblebee, is out in the shop and being repaired on. So at this point where Agent Schloeder is totally not convinced though by Dot's lie and believes that she's harboring Bumblebee. So when he notices that Alex is still at home, he decides to go and interrogate him while Dot is still there. So Dot and Agent Schloeder leave the barn, thankfully, where B is able to hide in there until they all both go into the house where Agent Schloeder begins to question Alex about B. It's at this point where we get a really cool sort of lore insight as to what exactly B has been doing since the war ended in presumably 2005 up until the start of Earthspark, where we got a little bit of a glimpse of that back in episode 6, where B explains to Alex when they were on their walk hunts that B had actually done a few street races on the Philippine Islands that Alex grew up on. And that's sort of brought back here when Agent Schloeder is interrogating Dot and Alex by basically showing them a bunch of pictures that he has taken throughout the years of since the war ended. Ghost has been monitoring a bunch of illegal street races over the years, and he noticed that all of them have been won by the same yellow muscle car, and so that leads him to believe that it's none other than Bumblebee. And since Alex's car bears a striking resemblance to Bumblebee's alt mode, he believes that Alex's car is Bumblebee. But Alex thankfully decides to play dumb and basically say instead that even as a big Bumblebee fan, he's more so flattered that B decided to scan his car as an alt mode instead of just having his literal car be Bumblebee. But Agent Schloeder is a bit skeptical about this, still believing that perhaps Alex is actually harboring Bumblebee, considering the fact that he shows him more pictures of how each and every one of these races contains the same trail of energon on the car's tire tracks, and that leads him to really believe that B is Alex's car. But Alex thankfully does manage to sway him by once again reaffirming that he believes instead that B just simply scanned his car for his alt mode and that this is just one big misunderstanding. And so Agent Schloeder seems to buy that, but then he tells Dot and Alex that he's instead having Ghost run another race later that night so that if B shows up to it, they'll be able to catch him and arrest him there. This obviously worries Dot and Alex, but then Agent Schloeder basically tells Alex that he's actually going to help him take Bumblebee. So Agent Schloeder just sort of kidnaps Alex right then and there, taking him away to this race, leaving Dot alone, basically explaining that Alex is going to help Agent Schloeder arrest the Ghost, catch Bumblebee at this race. So after Agent Schloeder leaves with Alex, that's when Dot runs back to the barn and immediately is dead set on chastising B, basically explaining how to her it seems like B is just doing these pointless street races just to get like an adrenaline junkie fix or something like that, and because of that, Alex's life could potentially be in danger now. So when she confronts B about this, he explains that it's a whole big misunderstanding to her, and it's not actually just to get an adrenaline fix or anything like that, but honestly a much sweeter way. But honestly, the way he talks about this, there is literally no heterosexual way to describe this, and so I'm just gonna let it play for itself.
I've been looking for someone. See, back on Cybertron, before the war, I had this friend, a brother. Or like, he's also on the run from Ghost. He can't help himself. He keeps entering these races, and they're the only way I know how to find him.
He has been constantly entering these races for the past almost 15 years, hoping that he could find him at one of these races at some point. So Dot at that point realizes that while B's intentions are genuine, she does stress to him though that he can't be so reckless with it, because if he does go to this race, Joe Ghost is clearly going to arrest him, and then that will put a lot of stress on not only her and Alex, but also Twitch, Thrash, and the rest of the Terrans, as well as Robbie and Mo. But B then explains too that if he doesn't show up at the race, he thinks that Agent Schlotter is going to know that either Dot or Alex tipped him off about the race, and therefore they'll arrest Dot and Alex instead. So at this point, Dot announces that she has a plan to get B and Alex both out of this trap, and we'll see the fruits of this plan play out later on. But I just want to get into just exactly the introduction of who is arguably one of my favorite characters in Earthspark now. Now, I know there's a little side story here covering Twitch, Thrash, and the rest of the Multibots inside the dugout still while it's being locked down, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about that a bit later. I just want to go ahead and give a big shout out to who is arguably one of my favorite characters in Earthspark, just from this one episode alone, and that is none other than Breakdown. I can't stress this enough how much I love Bumblebee and Breakdown's relationship in this episode. The way they talk to each other, and exactly like how B like introduces himself to Breakdown when he believes that he's just gonna be at this race by himself. Like, I'm sorry, he's like a brother to me, my ass, B. No, they gay. They super gay, and I love it. Honestly, there is no heterosexual understanding for this. You cannot justify it in any way, and I absolutely love it. The way that literally Breakdown says that, like, how close he and B used to be before the war until he let Optimus get away, it exhumes such, like, jealous X vibes, and I am so here for it. Honestly, though, their whole shtick that they've got going on this episode is so good, and I swear to God, Nickelodeon, you have to bring Breakdown back for another episode, please, just because I love the dynamic he has with Bumblebee in this episode. It just literally makes this episode, that's why it's my favorite episode, just from Bumblebee and Breakdown's relationship alone. You can totally read the tension, the romantic and sexual tension between them in this episode. It is crazy.
I can't believe it.
You ever beat 336?
Guess you'll find out this afternoon.
I was hoping you'd show up.
Just like old times.
Before you let Optimus get between us.
Hey, you could have joined us.
Nah, brother, I'm a stunticon at heart. It wasn't meant to be.
No, you made a choice.
Choice? We both made a lot of choices in the war. Danger's my favorite gear.
Breakdown, you reckless fool! You're gonna get us both caught, and I can't bail you out this time. I've got a family to look out for now.
Like, just, there's so much I love about this. The way that, like, you can clearly see how good of terms B and Breakdown are on with each other, but the fact there's still some underlying resentment there that, like, B tells Breakdown that he wanted him to join the Autobots with him, but clearly Breakdown says that that wasn't for him being a Stunticon and all that, and even, it seems to be the same thing for Breakdown, that he really wanted B to join the Decepticons with him, but B was more drawn to Optimus, and just, oh my god, it's so good, and literally Roger Craig Smith plays Breakdown so well here. He makes him feel like such a charismatic and charming character that I just can't help but love him. Breakdown is absolutely amazing, and Roger Craig Smith does a great job as him. Now, for any who for whatever reason don't know who Roger Craig Smith is, he has done a lot of voice acting stuff, as I mentioned back in my original video talking about this batch of episodes. This isn't also his first Transformers role. He previously voiced Jetstorm and Slipstream, who were Drift's mini-cons back in Robots in Disguise 2015, but on top of that, he's done a lot of video game and anime work. Arguably, his most popular role is that he's been the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog for almost 15 years now, since 2010. He was Ezio in the Assassin's Creed franchise, Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 5 and 6, Kyle Crane in Dying Light, Datara in Naruto, so much other stuff, and man, I love his performance as Breakdown in Earthspark. He literally is so good. Literally, it's a mix of his Mirage voice from Apex Legends mixed in with a bit of Chris from Resident Evil. It's so good, and I absolutely, like, literally, Breakdown's like the spotlight of this episode. I just want 10 more episodes at least with Breakdown. Please, Nickelodeon, I'm begging you here. I also gotta say, I absolutely love Earthspark Breakdown's design. Easily, I love it just as much as Prime Breakdown for my favorite Breakdown design. It seems to be a good mix of his G1 design and his Prime design to a degree, but more so in line with his G1 design, with his origins as a Stunticon, basically. I do love how they kept the yellow eyes, though, and just looks so good. Nick Roche did an amazing job designing Breakdown for Earthspark, who I can confirm did do it alongside Tarantulas, Thrash, and several other characters in this show. But yeah, I absolutely just love Earthspark Breakdown's design. And I can't just be the only one who thinks this, though, but isn't it funny how close that Earthspark Breakdown's face looks to Skids from the IDW comics, specifically More Than Meets the Eye? Like, I call me crazy, but I just feel like they're very similar, and it's totally crazy, too, that Roger Craig Smith ended up voicing Breakdown, because in my mind, when I was reading through the More Than Meets the Eye comics, I totally imagined Skids having Roger Craig Smith's voice, so I just think that's an incredible, lucky coincidence that they just happened to get Roger Craig Smith the voice Breakdown, and he looked almost exactly like Skids in terms of his head design. I absolutely love that. As you can see, I am probably like one of, if not the biggest Breakdown and Bumblebee shipper here, and I will die on this hill that I needed to be canonized at some point by the end of the show. You already have a gay couple in the show. Can you please make Breakdown and be a couple? Please, just begging you here. Okay, I got a little ahead of myself there. I'm sorry about that. I needed to get that out. But anyway, after Breakdown and Bumblebee's reunion, he explains that he's planning to enter the race here because he tries to warn Breakdown that he's putting himself at risk by being in these races, but Breakdown just seems to not care about it. He just thinks it's another, like, challenge that he's eager to go by. You can clearly see that he's the more adrenaline junkie between him and B, but B still chastises Breakdown for that, trying to say that he can't live like this anymore, because clearly it seemed as though B seemed to enjoy being as reckless as Breakdown before, but B says that clearly he has a family now, he can't be as reckless as he was when he was younger, which again, like literally they give off such major X vibes, and I love it. So Breakdown essentially just gives B an ultimatum where he says that he still plans to compete in the race despite knowing that it's a trap set by Ghost, but promises B that he'll go and join him and stop racing if B actually beats him in this race. But if Breakdown wins, then he has to give Breakdown his the Energon suppressor that he's been using so that he could stay hidden during all the races, which B agrees to, and that gets us to the race, which, oh my god, the climax of this episode is so good. But before we do that, I think we need to address the elephant in the room, which is the secondary B plot of this episode. While this is all going on, by the way, the Multibots know everything that's going on. That is because Nightshade managed to put a little security camera in a little flamingo that is in the front yard of the multi-homestead, as well as putting cameras all throughout Witwicky, apparently, if I remember correctly. So they all see that Agent Schiller take Alex away while they're locked in a dugout. So at this point, Twitch says that they need to go out and save Alex from Ghost, though when she tries to get out through the gate, it's still locked. And at that point, though, Nightshade explains that that's because, as a safety precaution, the dugout is programmed to shut down if any Ghost personnel step inside the perimeter of the multi-homestead, and will then lock down for about 10 minutes before all the mechanics unlock, which is also why B had to hide in the barn, because he did try to hide in the dugout, but he couldn't get in because the dugout was locked at that point. And also, according to hashtag, the whole dugout is soundproof, so when B's like pounding on the door, yelling at them all to let them in, none of them can hear him, and they just happen not to be looking at the cameras when he was trying to get in at the same time. So it's a bit frustrating there, but honestly, it's a little like situational comedy, so that I have no problem with that. But as Nightshade shows the timer that's supposed to say that there's only 10 minutes until the dugout unlocks, I believe it's Robbie or Mo that notices that it doesn't say 10 minutes, it says 10 hours until the dugout opens. So all the Multibots are stuck in the dugout for the next 10 hours until it unlocks. So at first, Nightshade says that they can get out by using escape pods that they installed inside the dugout. However, when they go to the escape pods, they find out they haven't actually finished the escape pods yet, and that's all just filled with a bunch of debris. So they're just stuck in there until the 10 hours run out, which clearly stresses Twitch out even more than she was already at the start of this episode. So she's just just trying to pry open the door, trying to think of other ways to do it. She starts telling Robbie Mo to try other things, but clearly what all she's doing is just stressing everyone else out more. And that's where we get this really nice conversation where Twitch sort of blows up on Thrash, where after Thrash basically tells Twitch to give it a rest and wonders why she's being so stressed out about this all. It's at this point where Twitch essentially just realizes that as technically the oldest Terran, she feels responsible for everyone and thinks that they're not ready to handle Ghost or any real Decepticons for that matter, which, to be fair, she does have a point that really they haven't won any battle truly on their own yet in this entire season. If you think back to episode 4, for instance, yeah, when Thrash and Mo had to battle Swindle probably would have killed Thrash if Dot hadn't come in to save him and Mo. And then also to a degree in episode 8 with them all with Twitch, Thrash, Robbie, and Mo battling Ravage, Laserbeak, and Frenzy. Technically though, they were able to stop them a little bit by doing their little like jingle or rhyme thing to confuse them a bit, but really though, it was B that had to save them from them in the end. It just sort of bought them some time to have B get up there to help them. But so Twitch is totally in the right here, that where she believes that none of them are ready to take on a real threat, and it's why she takes training so seriously, because she's really worried that if something were to happen to Dot or Alex or B, if they were to go away, she thinks that no one would be able to do anything and that they would just be taken in by Ghost 2 because they have no idea what to do. And it's at this point where Thrash actually opens up to Twitch again in a really heartfelt moment that I love Zena Robinson's delivery in this scene as well, especially with Catherine Kavari too. She did a great job as Twitch here, where Thrash essentially tells Twitch that while he does believe that perhaps maybe they aren't totally ready to face Ghost or anything else that comes their way, he does know that like Twitch doesn't have to deal with it all alone, and that as her brother, he's always gonna be right there with her alongside Nightshade, Jawbreaker, Robbie, and Mo. And I think that's really good message to send, but it also does unfortunately like kind of get a little bit retconned, or it feels like Twitch regresses as a character a bit towards the end of this episode when something happens. But I'll get into that now, and it's time to talk about my favorite part of this episode being the climax of it. Now it's time for the climax of this episode, which easily is the best part and arguably the most intense, I want to say 5 minutes I've ever been for a Transformers show in years. Like even more than like Cyberverse and Prime to a degree. It's crazy that I've been a Transformers fan for 8 years now at this point, and I've never no other, I mean, like aside from the IDW comics maybe, I've never been this tense for an episode of Transformers in my life. So it's the big time of the race where we see Agent Schloeder and Alex are there alongside several other Ghost agents, and well, we believe these bunch of Ghost agents, until suddenly though, they are joined by none other than Agent Croft, who makes an appearance in this episode, which again, I am so happy that Agent Croft is getting more of a spotlight, because as the leader of Ghost, I feel she definitely deserves it, considering she literally only showed up for like 2 seconds at the start of episode 9 last batch, but she's had such a major role in not only this episode, but also previously back in episode 11, #oops. So it's great to be seeing more of her, and we get to slowly see more and more of how she runs Ghost, and maybe how her ideals differ from her brother and Agent Schloeder, which I absolutely love. So Agent Croft though believes that Agent Schloeder on a wild goose chase here, believing that it's just gonna be some sort of false alarm and all that, where she explains to Schloeder that they brought every single Ghost agent out here to catch Bumblebee. Literally the entire stands of the little stadium that they're in are filled with Ghost agents. So it's leads me to believe, like, was this race just totally comprised of Ghost agents? Like, are all the other racers just not concerned as to why there's a bunch of secret agents in the stands of the stadium? Is that just me, or I don't know, but it just seems a little weird. I understand, like, I'm just nitpicking at this point. I'm really just nitpicking. That's the only, like, real problem I have with this scene. Like, no one has a problem that the whole stadium, essentially, is filled with primarily Ghost agents. I just don't understand that. There is a cool little Easter egg here, though, where, like, how usual, like, typical NASCAR stadiums have, like, sponsors, like, advertisements on the sides of the racetrack. Like, you would see stuff like FedEx or GoDaddy.com and stuff like that. Earthspark does that to a degree. Like, you can see what clearly resembles the FedEx logo, but it says Fed Up instead, and I absolutely love that. There's another one where it's like the I believe it's the Tide logo, but it just says like turd or something like that. I can't remember that exactly. Or another one that says like spam instead of Sprite. I absolutely think that's like hilarious, and just that the Earthspark animators are just having a field day, just trying to parody stuff and do like a copyright safe way of doing this. So once Agent Croft takes her seat alongside Alex and Agent Schloeder, they all see all the racers come out in their cars, including Bumblebee and Breakdown at the front of the lineup, where at this point though, just when the race is about to start, a bunch of ghost cars just come up onto the track, prepared to arrest Bumblebee, believing that it truly is him. Though here's where the big twist comes in. So surprise, surprise, what Dot's plan actually was is that she was going to pretend to have stolen Alex's car so that she could be in the race instead, which I think is honestly such a hilarious plan by Dot's part. Like literally, at first Agent Schloeder pulls a gun on B, ordering him to transform, but instead his car door opens and Dot comes out in a full racing suit, explaining that she has secretly been taking Alex's car out to race several times, which I don't know if that covers all the races B has been in all the way back, like when he wasn't in Witwicky, but I guess you can say, considering Dot and Alex have presumably been married for at least 15 years or so since the war ended, I imagine they probably met at least during the war still, but Robbie and Mo, we know, at least were born after the war, considering Robbie's 13 and the war would have ended 15 years before EarthSpark started. So it is really cool though that that's how they got at it. So I thought it was originally going to be that B made a holoform avatar of Dot to pretend to race for it, but no, it's literally just Dot in a racing suit, pretending to have taken Alex's car, which we know as B, into these races. Also, again, shout out to EarthSpark for giving representation to disabled women by saying that a woman with a prosthetic leg can do street races. Honestly, Dot is the disabled rep we need in our children's cartoons, and I am here for it. So at this point, Agent Schiller is just completely confused and then believes that he just totally got bamboozled by Dot and B, that he believes that truly that Alex's car isn't just B, that B just merely scanned his car and is somewhere else entirely. So at this point, Agent Croft is totally, Agent Croft is just confused as well when Agent Schloeder is ready to just call it off. But Agent Croft, man, I gotta, like, as much as I hate her character, I gotta give her character credit for being so smart and competent as well, unlike her brother, because she believes that while maybe not B is at this race, she orders the ghost agents to go ahead and scan every single other car at the race, believing that there may have been some other Cybertronian on the race. And as much as I hate Agent Croft, she's really such a well-written character that honestly, she and Mandroid are without a doubt the best human villains I've ever seen in the Transformers franchise, and I love that. I think Kari Wahlgren too does a great job of voicing Agent Croft. So Agent Croft orders one of the Ghost Cadets to go down and scan every single race car in the hopes that one of them is a Cybertronian. She starts off with scanning B, which surprise surprise doesn't work because B's running the Energon suppressors. But then though, the cadet goes to Breakdown, and that's when the scanner starts to go off because he doesn't have an Energon suppressor. And so just when she's about to reveal to Croft that Breakdown is in disguise there, Breakdown decides to just go ahead and go guns blazing, transforms out, and starts shooting at every single ghost agent trying to get a way out. So he basically goes planning to run away and leave B to escape on his own as well. So B's struggling to get out as well, dodging a bunch of stuff, but as Breakdown's causing all this chaos in his own effort to escape, he does end up shooting down the little billboard for the stadium. I'm not sure if it's him or just a random ghost missile that destroys it, but I love the choreography in this scene of B and especially Breakdown dodging all these ghost missiles and even like these giant stasis cuff launchers that they shoot out of a car. Like there's this one scene where Breakdown does a little like slow-mo dodge in the air, dodging all these lasers, and I absolutely love it. But anyway, that billboard comes down one way or another. I forget exactly how, but it comes down to in such a way that it looks like it's going to crush Agent Schloeder and a bunch of ghost agents. Though luckily B is there, who actually does transform for the first time and reveals himself to Agent Schloeder to save him and orders them all to run away. However, what do Agent Schloeder and the ghost agents do? Do they thank B and just run away and be on their merry way and leave B to do what he does? No, instead, they just get out of the way, but then immediately start shooting at Bumblebee, trying to detain him. And I can't stress to you guys how annoyed and frustrated this made me be, that literally my man went out here to save your own life, and now you're gonna still try to kill him or arrest him. God. ACAB, man. ACAB. So while B does try his best to dodge Agent Schloeder and the rest of Ghost Agents when they start shooting at him, he does end up getting detained with these little lasso whip energy whips that look very similar to the ones that Mandroid's Arachnomex used to detain Megatron back in episode 9, which honestly is a really nice like foreshadowing of a big plot twist that happens at the very end of this batch of episodes at the end of episode 18. But I'll go ahead and leave that for my review episode 17, 18 later on down the line. So at this point, B is down in the middle of the stadium trying to escape, and he's pretty much detained at this point. Agent Schloeder tries to, like, reason with B, stating that if he just comes quietly, there won't be any trouble, and he won't be locked up in a ghost cell, and assures him that there's probably a good reason as to why, in his words, he says that he believes B deserted the Autobots and went rogue. So this answer opens up a whole bunch of other questions in terms of the Earthspark like lore to me. So does that mean pretty much every single Autobot besides B is like working with Ghost? Because we know at the very least Optimus, Alita, and RC are working for Ghost. And I guess you could say Megatron too is technically an Autobot, even though he still sort of identifies as a Decepticon. And the only thing though is that Wheeljack we saw back in episode 6, he didn't have the Ghost Autobot insignia like Optimus, Alita, and RC did. So does that mean he's still in hiding like B is too? Or is this just a developer oversight that maybe the animators forgot to give him a Ghost Autobot insignia and just gave him a regular Autobot one? Or is he truly in hiding like B, but so far every other Autobot, which is Optimus, Alita, and RC, are currently working with Ghost? Maybe that's why. Maybe Optimus didn't want B to be forced to work under Ghost like he, Alita, and RC are. I don't know, but it's an interesting chain of events as to why B was forced to go into hiding like that. Just as all the Ghost agents are about to move in and properly detain Bumblebee, though, that's when Breakdown just finally comes back and decides to free B, basically giving like a little taunt about how he always has to save him and pull him out of trouble. And God, the way he poses on top of B too, like, man, you can't tell me there's no straight way to describe this. I swear to God, it's ridiculous. But regardless, after Breakdown frees B, they both try to get out and are basically dodging a bunch of Ghost agents left and right, running around the stadium. But at this point when Dot and Alex realize that they need to make sort of an opening for Breakdown and Bumblebee to escape on. So Dot gets the crazy idea. She runs up into the stands where she finds a Ghost convoy truck, very similar to Optimus's alt mode actually, and literally gets in the driver's seat and shoves down a rifle onto the gas pedal, so it basically plows through a wall in the stadium and runs over a lot of the Ghost cars to give B and Breakdown an opening. And I absolutely love the little banter between B and Breakdown as they're trying to dodge all the Ghost agents, where Breakdown basically asks B if he can just kill a few of them, when B just seems horrified by it and just tells them that they can't hurt them as much as try to avoid hurting them as much as he can, which Breakdown seems to comply with. But then literally in one scene, he literally just flips over a Ghost car, which I'm pretty sure explodes. But honestly, after they nearly killed B, I think Breakdown totally deserve here to maybe kill 1 or 2 Ghost agents. I don't think that they're actually dead, but clearly if they did die though, I think they had it coming in my opinion. But just when Bumblebee and Breakdown are about to get out, they see the opening, they think they're in the clear, a bunch of Ghost agents come in and prepare to start firing on them. They hold their fire, and who steps out into the middle but Agent Croft, who literally just stands right out there in the middle of all the Ghost agents, pulls out her own personal Ghost rifle, and takes aim at Breakdown. And again, as much as I hate her, I gotta give her credit for at least being a competent soldier, that not only is she just ordering all her Ghost agents what to do, she's honestly putting in her own work to try and get the job done, and I can respect that to a degree. So Agent Croft makes everyone hold their fire as she lines up her own personal rifle, aimed straight at Breakdown, and manages to land a perfect shot on one of Breakdown's front wheels to the point where pretty much, I could basically say she basically dislocates his shoulder, for a lack of better terms. And at this point, my heart sank because I'm thinking, oh no, this means that Breakdown's gonna get captured, and maybe we'll get like a jailbreak episode later on in the future where maybe B gets to break Breakdown out of jail. But then the ending comes, and this ending destroyed me. So after Croft shoots Breakdown's front wheel, it forces him out of his alt mode and back into his root mode. So as Breakdown's struggling to recover, Croft orders all the other Ghost agents to move in on him and B. So at this point though, when it seems to be that Breakdown realizes that he can't get out with Bumblebee and that he has to sort of sacrifice himself to let B escape. And my heart was pounding during this moment, I'll tell you right now, where Breakdown explains to B that he wants to have one last race with him, and with that he basically pushes B away as he just transforms again and charges full tilt right into Croft and all the Ghost agents, as B just stares in horror as he tries to go as fast as he can as well to try and catch up with Breakdown and make sure he's the one who ends up being sacrificed instead. And oh my god, I was literally screaming at my computer screen, no, don't do this to me, don't kill Breakdown, please, because literally Agent Croft and all the Ghost agents are like shooting at him. He's taking every single hit. You see his wheels like fall off or they get like misaligned, that he's just riding by his back wheels the whole point. And I'm thinking like, oh my god, he's gonna crash into all of them, he's gonna like blow up and make a perfect opening for B to get out, and I was like so not prepared for that. Thankfully that's not the case though, but it still has such a sad tone to it where literally he's going, like, even when he's taking all this damage, he's smoking up and all that, he's taking all this damage, he's still pushing forward, and to the point where Agent Croft and all the other Ghost agents have to get out of the way, and Breakdown just crashes right through all of the Ghost cars, transforming and rolling through all of them, trying to make an opening for B. And then there's this amazing slow-mo shot where it starts raining and there's thunder all over the place, where Breakdown literally reaches out to B and throws him over the wall of the stadium to get him out of Ghost's hands. And I honestly love the cinematography in this scene, literally on the same level as Optimus and Megatron's fight with Skywarp and Nova Storm back in episode 9. I absolutely love this scene so much. It's so heartbreaking, like the way B and Breakdown look at each other as B like watches him being taken by Ghost as he's flown over the edge of the stadium. And so when B is flown over the edge, he transforms and lands back on his wheels and drives away, watching as Breakdown just crashes and tumbles through all the Ghost cars and ends up getting taken into Ghost custody. He's not dead, thankfully, because I would be heartbroken if Breakdown was dead. But you can literally see that, like, clearly Breakdown got pretty injured from that little stunt, and the pain in B's voice as he drives away from the whole encounter, it just, oh my god. Again, shout out to Danny Pudi and Roger Craig Smith as B and Breakdown, man. They did an incredible job with this episode, and I really hope we get to see Breakdown in a future episode, because I need to see more of them so badly. So B ends up actually just driving straight away from the stadium, where at this point Ghost is on high alert and they know that B's in the area, so they're gonna go on him, trying to catch him 24/7. So as B drives away from the stadium, never to be seen again, which is really cool because this is honestly the last time we see B until the very last episode of this batch. He comes back in episodes 17, 18, but for episodes 15 and 16, B doesn't show up at all. The Terrans are completely on their own, which I think is such a great character building moment, that without their mentor, what's Twitch gonna do now? And that makes the ending absolutely heartbreaking. So as B drives away, Agent Croft loads up Breakdown into a Ghost transport van alongside Agent Slaughter, a bunch of other Ghost soldiers. And when Dot and Alex go over to check on Breakdown, with Agent Croft not realizing that Dot was the one who sent the Ghost truck into the stands to give Bumblebee the chance to escape, Croft though still believes that Alex and Dot were harboring Bumblebee, technically considering he was there. So she immediately orders 2 Ghost agents to arrest them both, though thankfully it's not Bumblebee or any of the Terrans that save them, but rather Agent Schloter instead, who in his eyes, he totally has fallen for Alex and Dot's lie in believing that truly B was just pretending to be Alex's car and that they shouldn't be punished for B's actions. So it explains to Agent Croft that basically that this isn't what Ghost is, that they're going after Cybertronians, not people. So it seems as though Agent Croft clearly isn't on board with what Agent Schloter wants to do, and that she believes that still Dot and Alex can be a threat to Ghost. But eventually though, Agent Croft does submit and orders all her soldiers to stand down and just leave with Breakdown, which she believes she's okay with that. Agent Schloter then apologizes to Alex and Dot for all the trouble he caused them both, still believing that Bee was just bamboozling them all and offers to give Dot and Alex a ride home at that point. So it's at this point where Twitch and everyone finally managed to get out of the dugout after it's been 10 hours, and Twitch has just been pounding on this door the whole time, slashing out with her wing blades, trying to get out. And that's where I mentioned before that it feels like Twitch just sort of regresses, that after it really seemed like she was okay with having the burden shared between Thrash, Nightshade, and Jawbreaker and Hashtag, it seems like though she's just back to the immediately like the big sister head space where she feels like she's got to be responsible for everyone. And it's just a small nitpick though, nothing big. So eventually though, they do get out in time to hear Agent Schloeder talk to Alex and Alex and Dot, I should say, reassuring them that if B does show up again, he and the rest of the Ghosts will be able to arrest him in Witwicky. So that pretty much explains that B is not going to be coming back to Witwicky anytime soon. So it's at this point, while Robbie and Mo are happy that their parents are okay, Mo asks Dot where Bumblebee is. That's this point that Dot explains that because since Ghost now knows that B is here, he's had to leave Witwicky, and it's most likely, rather than not, it's going to be a very long time before they see B again. And this completely destroys Twitch. Well, Robbie, Mo, and the rest of the Terrans are clearly upset by this. It's Twitch who really takes this the hardest, because this is literally her worst fear come true, that she's lost her mentor and easily, you could argue, one of her father figures as well. So she just throws down her swords in frustration, just starts sobbing right there. And it's at this point where Thrash goes over to console her, saying that even though B's gone, he left so that the rest of the Terrans could stay safe. And then Twitch though seems to be determined though that she's gonna stop Ghost and make sure that B can come back to them. And that's where the episode ends. This really cool shot of we see Twitch's swords laying down in this big rain puddle, as we see the reflection of the puddle, everyone hugging Twitch. And it's such a powerful episode and the perfect ending to what is easily the perfect episode of Earthspark. And so that was my review of Transformers Earthspark Season 1 Episode 14 Security Protocols. I don't think I need to explain what I would rate this episode, because easily this episode gets 100 out of 10. Without a doubt, the best episode of Earthspark so far, and easily one of my favorite episodes in all of Transformers. Between this, Prime, RID-15, Cyberverse, the War of Cybertron trilogy, the Bayverse movies, this one single bit episode of Earthspark is one of the best animated parts of Transformers that I've ever seen in my life. I absolutely love it. The way Ghost is portrayed as this actually competent human anti-transformer hunting military group, how Bumblebee and Breakdown's relationship plays out throughout this episode, the entirety of Breakdown's character as a whole, it's all just incredible, and it's just so good. And there's absolutely, again, I'm a bit worried though too, because I feel like it would be really hard for Earthspark to top this, but at the same time, I'm so excited to see what the rest of this series brings, and I'm loving it. I can easily say this very well may be my favorite Transformers show to date. But that's gonna be it for this review. I'll be back next week with episode 15, Bare Necessities. If you like this review, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later.